Hey guys, welcome to another movie review. I apologize if my voice sounds terrible. I'm getting over a cold while filming this, so bear with me if that's bothering you right away. But I am going to review Avatar Fire and Ash. This is the latest Avatar installment in the Avatar franchise from James Cameron. In this film, you guys, we follow the Jake Sully family just like in the previous two movies. This time around, they're dealing with something called the Ash Tribe, which is basically these Navi that live on like this fire land that's kind of like this desert area, but they specialize in fire and they are interested in getting weapons and basically learning more about military and all this other stuff. And while all that's going on, they're kind of continuing that whole Way of Water storyline with the um, I think they're called the Tolkien. They're like these whale creatures that were dealt with in the Way of Water film. And basically, throughout this film, the Jake Sully family has to deal with this new Ash tribe while also dealing with that general character that we've been seeing throughout the last two movies, played by Stephen Lang. And so throughout this film, the Stephen Lang character teams up with the Ash tribe to basically try to take out the Jake Sully family once and for all, as well as the other Navi tribe. And this all happens over the course of Avatar Fire and Ash. But overall, guys, I like this film. I didn't absolutely love this film, though. Out of the three Avatar films we've gotten so far, I would say this one's probably my least favorite of the three. But even that being said, I would say it's still a relatively good movie. There's a lot of good things about this film. Let me just adjust the camera here. There's a lot of things I really enjoyed about it. There's still that James Cameron magic of him kind of having these big grand scales with his films. So for my positives and negatives of this film, I thought James Cameron, in his sense of spectacle, was very good here. It really is, he really is one of those filmmakers where when he sets out to make a film, he makes it as big and grand as he possibly can. He makes sure that the 3D effects are really good. Um, he really does bring the spectacle. He really does bring kind of the best visual flair that he can to his films. Obviously, all his action scenes are very well made too. So if you're a big James Cameron fan, if you love the way he films his action and his visuals, I think you're going to be very happy here. Avatar Fire and Ash has a lot of that stuff going on in this movie. The Stephen Lang villain, even though he's very good in the last two films, I thought he was in particular really, really well written here in this movie. He's just very menacing. He's just a lot of fun. He has kind of the best one-liners he's ever had over the course of the franchise in this movie. Definitely a fun villain. Definitely a character that has no problem making sure you suffer if that means that getting his goals happens. So definitely a very strong villain here. I also really liked this Ash tribe leader that kind of teams up with him. I thought she was very menacing and very threatening as a villain as well. So I thought that aspect of the story was very well handled as well. I also like the idea of humans breathing the Navi air. They kind of explore that idea of what would it take to have a human basically being able to allow to be able to breathe in the Navi air, because a lot of them have to wear oxygen masks when they're on the Pandora planet. And so this film explores the idea with a character named Spider that we were introduced to in the last film. And what would it really take for a human to be able to be allowed to be able to breathe the Navi air? What would they have to go through? What kind of permission would they need from the Pandora planet? What kind of rituals need to be done? This all happens over the course of this film, and like I said, the character of Spider really plays into this idea quite a bit. One of the more interesting new ideas that's explored here in this movie. So I really like the idea of finding a way for humans to be able to breathe the Pandora air in a good way. And I thought using the character of Spider from the last movie, he's basically a human character raised amongst the Navi that's kind of learning and training amongst the Navi. I thought was a very good way to handle that. So I thought that aspect of the story was also very well handled too. They also thought the overall Ash tribe was also very menacing and very good here too. I really like the mission they have of being able to participate with military weapons. Kind of, they basically use or phrase weapons as being able to use thunder against their opponents, and it makes sense because it basically sounds like thunder when they're firing off these weapons and stuff. So I like the idea that the film has a lot of commentary about gun control and how dangerous it is when given to the wrong people, given into the wrong culture. And so I like James Cameron's commentary of, if something like that ever got into the wrong hands, obviously really bad stuff happens. So we really get to kind of see that play out over the course of this film. So I thought that aspect of the story was also very well handled as well. And there's a lot of in-water 3D camera effects that James Cameron uses in the movie. Don't know how well it's going to translate for those who see this in 2D or eventually going to stream this film in a 2D format. But if you do see it in 3D, I feel like that in-camera, in-water 3D camera effect that James Cameron pulls off in this movie really does work. So when you're in the water with some of these characters, it really does feel like the camera's kind of going into the water with them, like you're really kind of going into this water environment with those characters. Very cool effects. Like I said, don't know how well that translates into 2D, but as somebody who did see the film in 3D, I can tell you that it's a very cool effect that they were able to pull off here. So, huge thumbs up again to that. Really like that 3D effect that they used for this movie. And overall, obviously we've been on the Pandora planet for 3 films now, and it really does have to be said that it's a really cool setting to put a movie in. So I really like the overall idea of having this planet that has exotic rainforests and really cool ocean creature life, and really cool now that we've learned about the Ash tribe, kind of the volcanic life as well. So it's a very diverse planet. So if they do decide to make a 4th Avatar film, I apologize again about my voice; it's terrible. But if they do decide to make a 4th Avatar film, I can only imagine what the 4th possible environment they could explore could be. So I just overall really like the overall Pandora planet. Very effective here. Like the overall Pandora setting that they choose to use for these movies. They're just a lot of fun. But for my negatives of Avatar Fire and Ash, unfortunately, it's a very, very long film. It runs a little over 3 hours, and it's just way too long for a film like this. I really do feel like a good solid 40 minutes or so really could have been trimmed from the film. Apologize again about the Kleenex. Got to get over this cold. Terrible time to get a cold. Um, yeah, it's just way too long at 3 hours and a runtime. It's just way too much to take in all at once. And I really feel like just trimming even at least a good solid 20 minutes out of the runtime really could have helped this film a lot. But it's just a little overwhelming. I also wrote down it's very exhausting. It's a very exhausting experience to kind of sit through 3 hours of material like this, and there's a bunch of different subplots going on at once. And I just thought the overall runtime really could have been shortened for a film like this. I also thought some of the villains that they quote unquote brought back from earlier Avatar films, they really kind of don't explain how they're allowed to be there. Because the first Avatar film made it kind of clear that those people were basically kicked off of Pandora for doing what they were doing. It's just kind of weird how we went through Avatar 2, they weren't there, and now they're back on Pandora again without any kind of explanation as to how they got back there. So there's a lot of characters that show up from earlier films, specifically the first film, that somehow magically return for this one, and they never really explain as to why some of those characters were allowed to come back or why they've been hiding this whole time. So I thought that aspect of the storytelling felt a little lazy this time around. I also really don't know where the franchise can go necessarily now. I know there's been whispers that James Cameron wants to eventually take Pandora to Earth or take the Navi to Earth. And I think that's by the 4th or 5th film if he's allowed to make that. So I don't know if that's the direction they're going to go with if they do indeed make 1 or 2 more Avatar films. Is that basically the Navi have to go to Earth to basically find resources to survive. But the film never really makes that clear as you're watching it. It's like, oh, well, clearly they're going to go to Earth for the next one. So it's just one of those things where I would just much rather like to see a more interesting take, a more interesting environment for this Navi to explore. I don't really know what taking this franchise to Earth is really going to provide as far as originality is concerned. And I don't really know what it's going to do for the Jake Sully family in general by doing that. So by leaving the film, I was just kind of scratching my head thinking, where could this franchise possibly go next? It really isn't quite clear where they're going to go with this franchise at this point. Overall, too, I just thought there wasn't enough new ideas here. There's just a lot of times where we're re-exploring things that were explored in the first 2 Avatar films, whether it is protecting the rainforest, whether it is protecting the ocean life from people that shouldn't be there and shouldn't have to be there. There's just a lot of ideas that are re-explored again, and rather than exploring more about the Ash tribe and some of the newer stuff and breathing in the air, like I was mentioning with the spider character, another better newer idea that they were exploring this time around. Really could have brought more new ideas to the plate. I thought that aspect of the story could have been better handled. Would have liked to see more originality brought to the film. And overall, too, it just really doesn't feel like it's Jake Sully's story anymore. It really doesn't feel like it's we're about the Sam Worthington character all the way back from the first one. Really, is just kind of about his kids now more than anything else, which is fine. You can make it about the kids if you want, but the film really never really justifies as to why Jake is now kind of pushed to the side now, and it's more so about the kids. I really feel like there wasn't any justification as to why Jake Sully has to get the push to the side now as opposed to them. So I thought that aspect of the story, as far as making it Jake Sully's story, I thought could have been better explored this time around too. And overall too, I thought the overall film was just very repetitive and familiar. It just really felt like things we've seen before, things that we've seen in this franchise before. So if they do decide to make a fourth Avatar film, I really hope they find something new and fresh to explore, because this time around it just felt very repetitive and familiar to me. And overall, too, there's just a lot going on in this film. There's just so many subplots, so many things going on with the Jake Sully family. It really is kind of difficult to keep up with almost everything that happens in this movie. Almost every kid of Jake Sully has something to do in this movie, and they all have their own little subplots and side missions. And Natiri, who's played by Zoe Saldana, because he's kind of on a side quest for revenge at one point in the movie too. And so there's just so much going on in this film, and I really wish they kind of condensed all the stuff that was going down, because we have so much thrown at us over the course of 3 hours. But overall, guys, I'm going to give Avatar Fire and Ash an 8 out of 10. I think it's a good film. It's just not a great film. I just think more originality could have been implied to it. But I just feel like the overall Ash tribe could have been explored in a more interesting way. So I thought they were one of the better aspects of the film, and unfortunately they kind of get pushed to the side in their own movie entitled Fire and Ash, out of all things. But it's 8 out of 10 for me. I like the film. I just didn't completely love the film. If you love the first two Avatar films, I think it's worth checking out. It's just not a home run, in my opinion. It's just that's not absolutely perfect or anything. Still a good film, though. I recommend seeing it if you like the Avatar franchise. If you really haven't enjoyed Avatar so far, I really don't think you're going to like this one either. But like I said, it's a good film. It's just not a great film. It's 8 out of 10 for me. It's enjoyable enough.